Say the line, Bart.
Right, there's a lot of films I admire, and there's a bunch of them I'd happily sit through again tomorrow. But then there's a very short list I will stop whatever I'm doing for the second I catch one playing. Right at the top of that list is The Wolf of Wall Street, and I don't know that I've ever once regretted it. What a picture that is. It's 3 hours long, and even now it moves like it's being chased, and it's got more raw energy in it than most directors manage in an entire career. But when it comes down to it, Scorsese made that when he was 70 years old, which I find personally offensive. And it's stuffed to the gills. You've got a yacht going down in a storm, a chimp on roller skates, a marching band on the trading floor, and a man crawling to his car on his elbows. There's a helicopter, an FBI raid, a bit of the best comic work DiCaprio has ever done, and a bunch of drugs that most pharmacies wouldn't be able to get hold of. So here's the part I keep coming back to, and it's more or less the reason I wanted to make this at all. Out of all of that, out of every gloriously unhinged thing in those 3 hours, the bit everybody actually quotes is a guy in a restaurant ordering martinis. That, my friends, is 3 scenes and roughly 10 minutes of a 179-minute picture, and it walks off with the rest of the movie under its arm. DiCaprio is in more or less every frame of that movie, and he's monstrously good in it, and nobody at a party is doing an impression of him, but everybody does this one.
Fugazi, fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
Go and count how many lines from those 4 minutes you can quote off the top of your head. And I say all of that as a man who would happily die on a hill for this film. That's exactly what makes it so ridiculous. So ladies and gentlemen, because I love this movie so much, I promise you a clip from the film every 2 minutes so you don't get sick of my voice. You're welcome.
What are these sides? They cure cancer?
The sides did cure cancer. That's the problem. That's why they were expensive.
Shut the fuck up.
So how does that even happen in the first place? Because a cameo gets almost nothing to work with. There's no arc and no second half to fix a bad first impression. So the part just has to be pure function. And it's worse than that here, because on paper it's just an exposition dump. A guy in a restaurant explaining an industry to the new hire. And that's normally the point at which a movie goes to die for a good 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, you've all heard The Noise, and I don't know anybody who hasn't. It shows up as a gym reel or a locker room or one of those sales floor motivational videos, and roughly 40,000 podcasts hosted by guys with very white teeth, usually some prick who's never sold anything to anybody in his life. I've done it in a gym parking lot at 6 in the morning like an absolute moron. It was a terrace chant of all the things it could have turned out to be. A bit like a football chant that outlived the club that started it. Quick setup for anybody who needs one. It's the summer of 1987, and a kid called Jordan Belfort turns up for his first day on Wall Street with a good suit, and one of the senior brokers, a guy called Mark Hanna, takes him out to lunch. And what you end up with is a bit of a job interview running backwards. The senior guy explains the business to the new boy while getting steadily more wrecked, and most of it turns out to be the coke, the martinis, the first rule of the job, some advice about what to do with your hands, and the humming. The gist of it is that nobody in the whole business knows whether a stock's going up or down, that the job was never about making the client any money in the first place, and that all of the trick is keeping him in so the money never actually leaves. But here's where all of this gets strange, and it was news to me as well.
You jerk off? Do I jerk off? Yeah. Yeah, I jerk off, yeah. Like, three or four times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
As it turns out, most of that's not in the script. Now, I didn't want to just say that and leave it there, so I went and got the shooting script. Terence Winter, dated September 2012, with revised pages running all the way through to March 2013, and it's one of the easiest things in the world to find. 8,500 lines of it, and I read the whole thing for the first time last week. The lunch is scene 21. The word Fugazi appears 0 times, not in the scene, and not anywhere in the rest of the screenplay either. The fairy dust bit isn't in there, and the twice-a-day rule isn't in there either. And at the end of the day, the humming isn't either, because the word hum doesn't turn up once in the entire document. What's on the page is the Coke spoon and the martini order, and that's one of the best bits in the whole scene, and it's all of it Winters. There's the line about nobody knowing whether a stock's going up, down, or sideways, and a bit of flat advice about taking a break when you need to. And that's about all of it. But the fact of the matter is, these pages were still being revised in March 2013, months after they finished shooting, and it's still not in there. So Terence Winter wrote it, and let's be honest here, the people talking about this scene mostly give him no credit at all. He built the room, the drugs, the rhythm of the advice, and all of the best structure in it, and the guy has got to be one of the best in the business at this. It's a terrific scene on the page, but it isn't an immortal one, and the cruel joke of the whole business is that the guy who wrote the best scene in the movie mostly gets credit for the parts that aren't his.
All right, get the fuck off my boat.
I'm sure we'll be seeing each other real soon.
I'm sure. Good luck on that subway ride home to your miserable, ugly fucking wives.
Because what McConaughey does on top of it is pure charisma, weaponized, but it's a lot stranger than he tends to get credit for. He doesn't play Hannah as a shark. That's the obvious read, and it's the wrong one. And I'd bet you a lot of the actors you could name would go straight there. He plays him relaxed, genial, almost fatherly, if you can believe it. He's being kind to the kid in his own ruined way. And the fact of the matter is, he means every word of it. And the voice turned out to be a choice as well. A nasal, cheerful, slightly clipped little voice, like one of those guys reading out a lunch menu. But what it's reading out has got to be one of the most cynical descriptions of an industry in any mainstream Hollywood movie I can think of. And the temperature never goes up once. He's not corrupting the kid. He's welcoming him. And you cannot take your eyes off the man for a second. And in the middle of all that, he starts humming at his own chest. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a grown man drumming on himself in a restaurant while a waiter walks past. And on the other hand, by any sane reading, it should be absolute garbage. Here's where it came from, and to be fair, it's one of my favorite bits of trivia in modern movies. That hum turned out to be McConaughey's own warm-up. He'd been doing it before takes for years to clear his head and find his rhythm, more or less the way a singer runs scales, but it had nothing whatsoever to do with the part. But you know what? DiCaprio spotted him doing it between setups and stopped the scene dead. Hang on, Marty, what's that thing you do before the take? And then he asked for it to go in, and I'd say that might just be the most generous thing a movie star ever did on a set, because he's handing away the best moment in his own scene, and he knows it. It runs about 8 seconds, and that was it. And you can't type that, and I don't believe any writer alive would have dared, since on the page it reads as a stage direction somebody deletes in the first pass. Now, I'm not going to sit here and re-litigate whether the film glamorizes the guy, because that argument has been running for over a decade, and it isn't what this is about. What I would say is that the movie is a masterpiece, and it doesn't need me to defend it. But the fact that it's that good is exactly the point. This isn't some great scene sitting in a weak film with nothing else going for it. It's one of the biggest films of the century, and the most memorable thing in it. And it did serious business at the box office. And it was done by a guy who was on the set for a couple of days.
Steve Madden. Steve.
And here's the bit I keep coming back to. That moment only occurred because 3 people were paying attention at the same time. A director secure enough to keep a take nobody planned. and a lead actor generous enough to hand away the best bit of his own scene to somebody else. But most of all, a set with enough slack in it to try something that might not work. And I can't shake the feeling that the last one is getting rarer, and it's the one nobody puts in a budget. When the day is costed to the minute, and when every take has to match a cut the studio signed off weeks ago, there's just no room left for one of the actors to drum on his chest and see what happens. Try it now, and it goes to 9 people on a video call in a different time zone who all have to sign it off, and by then, it isn't a moment anymore. Screw the schedule. The best 8 seconds in that movie cost the production nothing at all. People always point to the "sell me this pen" bit, or to the Quaalude crawl down the steps, and both of those are magnificent, and on another day I would happily give you a whole video on either. But for me, it's this one. It has got to be the only case I can think of where a cameo got out of its own movie completely, and what let it out was just some private habit somebody happened to notice. I've watched it more times than I'd admit under oath, but it lands exactly the same way every time. He hums. That's the whole thing, and it was supposed to be a warm-up. And half the people still humming it in a parking lot have never seen the movie it came out of, and one of these days, a lot of them are going to sit down and watch it and find out what they've been missing. 3 hours of some of the most gloriously unhinged filmmaking anybody has put on a screen this century, and the bit that stuck was 10 minutes of one of the best actors alive being charming over lunch. That's not a criticism of the film at all. That's just how good he was.